Stadium's dressed very nicely here in red, blue and white. I can see banners like South London and Proud and Eagles all around the stadium. Simon Hooper looks at his watch, blows his whistle for the first time, and all the players on the field once again take the knee. I can see Wilfried Zaha with his hands behind his backs, closing his eyes. Andros Townsend down on one knee with one fist clenched in the air, and then Simon Hooper blows his whistle again, all part of the Black Lives Matter campaign. And we are underway again at Selhurst Park, and Ben Mee clears with his left foot for Burnley. So Burnley are playing from left to right in this first half in dark green shirts, black shorts and dark green socks. They start just behind Crystal Palace in this Premier League table. Both teams on 42 points, but Crystal Palace have the marginally better goal difference by 2. If one team can come away with all the spoils this evening, then they're up to 8th in the table, and they are level on points with Tottenham. Matej Vydra on the ball for Burnley, midway inside the Palace half, plays it to his left. Eric Peters in left midfield, gets a cross in. Vydra with the flick header, which goes high, looping wide and behind for a Crystal Palace goal kick. Early thoughts then, Chris Sutton. So Charlie Taylor, it looks like, Chris, is going to play left back and Peters ahead of him. Yeah,
I thought they might go the other way round with that one, with Peters at left back and Taylor, who I would think is a more natural attacking player, playing up one. But of course Burnley depleted. I think 2/3 of the goals are missing this evening. Chris Wood, Jay Rodriguez and Ashley Barnes scored 23 of the goals this season out of the 35. They don't have that physical presence up top, so Burnley will have to try and play a little bit of football this evening.
Vicente Guaita is back in goal for Crystal Palace. He's cleared long. There's a shout from Nick Pope to Ben Mee to leave it, and Pope has judged it well. He's all in yellow. Comes out to the edge of his box to grab it. There's been another goal at Wembley in the League 2 playoff final. Here's John Southall.
And it's another for Northampton. Exeter 0, Northampton 2. The ball was headed back into the area, and there was Callum Morton 4 yards out to tuck it into the right-hand corner. Morton scored those 2 goals in that remarkable semi-final. He's got another tonight, and it's a long way back for Exeter now. Exeter 0, Northampton 2.
Yeah, Exeter City, who lost those playoff finals in 2017 and 2018. As John was saying, Keith Curle, in a managerial career that has spanned over 500 games, looking for a first promotion. Could it come this evening at Wembley? Northampton leading by 2-0. Once again here on 5 Live, you can hear the crowd sound effects behind our commentary this evening. If you want the sort of natural sound effects from inside the stadium without the additional crowd noise, you can listen to that on 5 Live Sports Extra. You do still have to, on either station, listen to me and Chris. There's no option there, Chris. You can't.
That's unfortunate.
That's the disappointing thing, isn't it? Tarkowski with the long ball forward. Gary Cahill nods it down. Milivojevic almost caught in possession. Dwight McNeil trying to win another tackle. Van Arnholt slides in. Challenges flying in inside the Palace half. And then Josh Brownhill wins a tackle, and the ball goes out for a Palace throw on the left inside their own half. Palace 0, Burnley 0.
Yeah, and Brownhill starting on the right-hand side, that signing in January. Dwight McNeil, he's key to Burnley this evening. He's starting in that role, just in behind Vydra up top. Such a talented player, isn't he? Dwight McNeil, great delivery from the left, but intelligent enough to play a number of roles.
Burnley have started pretty well, keeping possession of the ball. They last played Thursday night, beat Watford by 1-0. Jay Rodriguez scored it, but is unavailable this evening. Tarkowski with the long diagonal, headed away by Joel Ward. Andros Townsend, his teammate, is there and just dragged to the ground by Jack Cork. Free kick Palace. Let's get you through the 2 teams then in full. Guaita back in goal for Palace. Joel Ward at right back, Van Arnholt at left back, and Scott Dan comes in alongside Gary Cahill this evening, with Mamadou Sakho dropping to the bench. 3 in midfield, Cheku Kouyaté, Luka Milivojevic and James McCarthy. James McCarthy is amongst the substitutes this evening. Townsend and Zaha, the wide men, with Jordan Ayew through the middle, who's done really well for Palace up top this season. Christian Benteke is not involved at all. He is out with an injury this evening. Burnley have Nick Pope in goal. Bardsley, Tarkowski, Mee and Peters. Josh Brownhill we've mentioned on the right, Charlie Taylor on the left, although it's Peters who's further up the field. So Taylor's left back, Peters left midfield, Cork and Westwood in central midfield, and McNeil playing off Vidra up front.
Just thinking from Palace's point of view, Ali, get the ball to Wilf Zaha, is playing against an ageing, not as mobile as he once was, Phil Bardsley. I actually played with Phil Bardsley. That's how old he is. Many moons ago at Aston Villa. Was he 35 now? And Zaha is such a talent, isn't he? Running with the ball.
Phil Bardsley celebrated his 35th birthday yesterday, Chris. So he shares his birthday with his manager Sean Dyche, who turned 49 yesterday.
Amazing knowledge, that, isn't it?
You've let me in beautifully.
Is that what you do? Yeah. Look up people's birthdays?
I spend quite a lot of time doing that ahead of a game, because then the listeners tonight are informed. Well, it's there. The date of birth is important. Sean Dyche's birthday yesterday is Burnley knocking it around inside the Palace half. McNeil is closed down by Ayew and MacArthur, and the ball comes off Ayew's left boot, and Brownhill comes across to take it. And a bit like Todd Cantwell, Josh Brownhill's got the sort of longish dark hair which he ties back with an Alice band, which I told you off air on Saturday, Chris, that actually back in the day when I used to play a bit of sport, my hair was a bit longer, I actually went for that look and took some stick for it. You might be surprised to hear. Now here's Jack Cork. Sean Dyche was speaking volumes of him on that Peter Crouch podcast, the most recent episode, as Taylor gets down the left-hand side. That's a good ball in. McNeil jumps for it, beaten in the air by Cahill, nodded forward again. On the turn is McNeil inside the Crystal Palace area. The ball's taken away from him. Tarkowski steps forward, wins it again for Burnley, and Charlie Taylor plays it back to another experienced man in Eric Peters. Peters back to the halfway line, across to Bardsley. Bardsley towards Brownhill, and then McNeil. Burnley have started well, Chris.
Really good ball from Taylor. He's got that yard of pace, went past Townsend, got to the byline, put a good ball in, but Gary Cahill read the cross well and powered a header clear. Really good piece of business getting in Gary Cahill by Roy Hodgson last summer.
Silky movement from Dwight McNeil in midfield. He's on the ball again. Josh Brownhill's drifted in from the right-hand side. The ball is played wide left. Taylor flicks it back to Cork. Cork wearing the number 4 shirt for Burnley, and they're making Palace move at the moment. Zaha's not seen anything of the ball yet, and we're well over.
That doesn't bother Palace, does it? I mean, they play that way. They're happy to sit in, even at home. They're not bothered because they don't have possession of the ball. I think you can look at them and you can say, well, they could be more attacking, especially when it comes to being here at Selhurst Park. It's not exactly a place, with 12 home goals this season, where Eagles dare.
12 home goals in 15 games, but Palace 10th in the table, coming forward with Ayew into the feet of Townsend, edge of the area. Tarkowski in with the challenge. Ayew wins it back, and here's Kouyaté. Kouyaté gets a shout from Joel Ward behind him. Ward gives it back to Kouyaté in his bright yellow and orange boots. Now Van Arnholt fires a low pass to the edge of the box. Comes back to Van Arnholt. Ayew stabs it out to the left and finds Zaha. Rolls a little pass into the area. Ball cut back by Ayew. Across the face of goal. Taylor goes sliding in. Now Mee has a chance to clear. That was half a chance for Crystal Palace. Cahill wins it, and the ball's out for a Burnley throw. Chris Sutton.
Yes, it was. Well, initially Ayew on the half turn inside the Burnley half. I thought he took too many touches when Andros had got the other side of Taylor. And then the ball appeared out on the left-hand side. Zaha into Ayew. Clever little 1-2. And he flashed the ball across goal, and MacArthur just couldn't get on the end of it.
Throw in for Burnley then. Played 8 minutes in the first half at Selhurst Park. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Crystal Palace 0, Burnley 0. As Chris was saying, Palace just 12 goals in 15 home games this season, and Burnley second only to Liverpool in clean sheets this season, with 12 of those as well. So it doesn't necessarily,
right? I didn't know that one, Bruce.
Doesn't necessarily promise goals, Chris, but we're hopeful, aren't we?
Yeah, well, looking at it, I think both teams set up, and of course they'd like to win games, but they're of the thought process, if you can't win, let's not lose the game. Both managers are pragmatic and realistic, though. We spoke about before the game, they aren't big spenders, these clubs. Success is staying in the Premier League year in and year out. Both managers realise that, and they've done it comfortably this season, and now Europe beckons, so it's an opportunity for both sides to get into Europe. You know, whether they want European football or not. Burnley got in the other season, and I don't know whether their fans enjoyed it. Unfortunately for them, they got drawn against Aberdeen.
You did that game, I remember that.
You couldn't make it up. They must have been thinking, blimey, Spain, Portugal, Cyprus. And they got the north of Scotland, north-east Scotland.
Oh, Aberdeen's a great city to visit.
The Granite City, Bruce.
Yeah, exactly. 0-0 between Palace and Burnley. Both managers in their suits, not feeling the chill just yet. Sean Dyche did come out with a coat. Dwight McNeil under pressure inside his own half. Sean Dyche has a shout to the referee, Simon Hooper, about the challenge by MacArthur on McNeil, but the pass was successful. Charlie Taylor is then shoved to the floor by Townsend, and that's a free kick for Burnley.
Well, it's a couple of times Taylor has gone past Townsend like he's not there. An opportunity for me and Tarkowski to go forward, and for Burnley to get a good delivery into the Palace box.
Free kick is midway inside the Palace half. And here it comes from the left boot of Dwight McNeil in towards the edge of the area. Stooping header away from Cahill. Ayew lays it off to Van Arnholt. He's got Zaha outside him. The wise thing to do there is give it straight to him. Bit of space for Zaha to run into here. Cuts inside, beats Brownhill. McNeil tries to get a foot in, but Zaha glides past him as well. Townsend to Zaha, lays it back to Cahill on the halfway line. Low pacey pass from Cahill forwards to Van Arnholt. Zaha on the turn, slides a pass in behind the Burnley defence. Kouyaté chases it down the inside left channel, collects it and plays it back to Van Arnholt. Kouyaté goes behind him. Townsend is there on the corner of the Burnley box. Milivojevic possibly thinking about having a shot from 25 yards, decides against it. MacArthur caught. Free kick Crystal Palace. It's well worked. And that's a good shooting opportunity now for Palace.
Yes, it was. And Zaha initially chopping inside onto his right foot and played a really intelligent reverse pass into Kouyaté, who'd made a good run into the left-hand channel. The ball pops out, and this is a good position. 22 yards left-hand side of the box, and is that Milivojevic over the ball?
Well, he scored one against Bournemouth, didn't he? Because Crystal Palace's first game.
Suits a right footer, you think, from this range?
Yeah, as Nick Pope is standing by his right-hand post. So try and put yourself, if you're listening to us, in Nick Pope's shoes, standing by his right-hand post a moment ago, and the ball is just slightly wider than that as he looks at it. Burnley have a three-man wall. Pope is standing right in the middle of the goal, and it's definitely going to be Milivojevic. Van Arnholt's walked away. It's over the bar. Just a little bit too much from Milivojevic.
Yeah, we bigged him up a little bit too much. As a poor free kick from a good position.
Did you see Ward-Prowse's free kick?
Oh, special, wasn't it? Yeah,
really good.
And Nick Pope, how was he? 6'5", Bruce? 6'5", 6'6".
Towers above me, Chris.
He only has one height, Bruce, doesn't he?
Other than the good point for our listeners who aren't aware of that. Chris and I play a little game called Bigger or Smaller on our Fantasy 606 podcast, where I have to guess whether I'm bigger or smaller than footballers and various celebrities. And the Pope is obviously a world figure. And we discovered, didn't we, Chris, that he has two heights. So I gave my answer, and I was actually...
Well, you discovered.
I was actually bigger than his current height, but smaller than his maximum height. So when he was at his tallest, I was actually smaller than him, so I lost, which I thought was slightly controversial. Throw in for Palace on the right. 12 minutes played, and in this week's podcast, I guessed that I was smaller than Jodie Comer, and I got that wrong as well, because I'm actually taller than her. Ball bouncing on the edge of the Crystal Palace box. Volleyed away by Scott Down with the right foot. Kouyaté is steaming down the right for Palace. The ball spins high in the air. Ayew volleys it behind him. It's not the best pass. So Van Arnholt has to go skipping back to collect it inside his own half. Plays it to Cahill. Cahill across to Scott Down, who's not started too many Premier League games over the last couple of seasons for Palace. Lovely ball from Townsend, wide to the left to find Zaha. Step over from him into the box. Two more step overs, runs out of space, and the ball's cleared for a Palace throw. 0-0.
They know, though, Burnley, that danger of Wilf Zaha. Really good crossfield ball from Andros Townsend, right to left, and as soon as he gets on the ball, you see Brownhill working ever so hard for Burnley to get back and double up alongside Bardsley.
Throw in taken short to Ayew. Ayew's bumped off the ball by McNeil and commits the foul. I took my eye off it for a second there, because the other stat on Ayew that I read ahead of this game is that he's on 9 goals this season, which for Palace is pretty good. And only once before in his career has he hit double figures for league goals, and that was for Lorient back in the French First Division, Ligue 1, in 2014-15. So I think he'll probably get there this season in the Premier League. Ben Mee's cleared. The ball's gone out for a Palace throw on the right, just inside their own half.
It's been a problem position, hasn't it? And I think Roy Hodgson has certainly been frustrated with the lack of goals from centre forwards in his time here. I think this season he'll be quite happy with Jordan Ayew.
Yeah. Ball's gone out for another Palace throw, and they've got to go and collect it themselves. The cameraman, who I think got the sharp end of Roy Hodgson's tongue before the game, thought about kicking the ball there, decided to leave it, and he's now almost stalking Joel Ward down the touchline like a prowling tiger behind him, trying to get his camera shot. Ward takes it. Milivojevic on the ball inside the Palace half. Nicely done. Cross to Cahill. Cahill chased by Vidra. Plays it back to Guaita. Not the best clearance from him. Didn't go that far. Headed forward by Jack Cork. And Cahill nods it down to Joel Ward for Palace, who bring it forward out of their own half. Playing from right to left in this first half towards the White Horse Lane end of the ground. The big Sainsbury's, if you know Selhurst Park, away to our left-hand side. Good deal on mineral water in there at the moment, Chris. I managed to grab us some bottles before the game.
Yeah, well, you've got Sainsbury's in. I don't know whether you saw Kieran Tierney with his Tesco bag to carry his boots in.
Did he?
Off the bus at Sheffield United as well. But I think, in fairness, we like all supermarket brands, Bruce.
We do. You know the one very close to me that I've spoken about before that I enjoy using in Salisbury, as Nick Pope plays the ball away with his left foot to Tarkowski. Burnley comfortable on the ball inside their own half. Quick pass whipped upfield by Jack Cork. Gary Cahill gets a left-footed clearance on it. The ball goes high in the air. It bounces down just inside the Burnley half. Ben Mee chips one forward. Vidra's onside. Heads it down to McNeil. McNeil plays it to his right, finds Brownhill. That's a good ball in. Header is flicked away by Scott Dan. A couple of good crosses have gone into the Palace box. That one is out for a Burnley throw.
Yeah, it's a clever ball from Ben Mee in behind the Palace defence in that right-hand channel. Vidra ran onto it. That's his game. He doesn't like to come to the ball. He's not a big guy, so they can't hit him to try and hold it in. He got down the right-hand side. When it came out to Brownhill, a really good cross whipped in. No takers, though, and that's the problem Burnley have. They don't have that physical presence. Chris Woods,
the big New Zealander.
Yeah. Not everybody knows that, Bruce, do they?
Free kick for Burnley on the left. By the way, did you say Kieran Trippier or Kieran Tierney there?
Kieran Tierney.
Did you definitely say Tierney?
I
think you might have said Trippier.
Let's hope not.
I think we might have to listen back to that, because I know you would be quite quick to pick me up were I to make a horrendous error like that. It was obviously Tierney. You probably did say Tierney. Free kick for Burnley. Whipped into the near post, headed behind by Milivojevic. Corner for Burnley, 0-0.
Disappointing that from Ashley Westwood. Right-footed, in-swinging ball, hit the first man. It's a couple of times they've been in decent positions for the set-piece delivery and haven't missed that first man. Another opportunity, though. A corner. Westwood again.
You can see one of the officials there cleaning the ball that went behind. Ball to the far post, nodded across goal. Oh, it's a scramble here. Eventually cleared away by Ward. McNeil drives it with his left foot, and it goes flying over the crossbar. That went right across Crystal Palace's goal line, and no one could stick it in for Burnley.
Well, I spoke about the delivery not being so good. That was fizzed in across the 6-yard line. It's actually Van Arnholt on the far post for Crystal Palace, who volleys the ball back into the danger area. He wasn't expecting it, and somehow Palace scramble the ball out, and a shot goes in again, well over the bar from, is it McNeil?
Yeah, McNeil.
Expect better from him in that position, left-hand side of the box. Got a wand for a left foot.
Goal kick then for Crystal Palace. Heading towards 20 minutes in the first half on BBC Radio 5 Live. Palace 0, Burnley 0. Little head around the corner from James MacArthur. Chances you feel will be at a premium this evening, so when they're good ones like that for McNeil, you need to get the shot on target. I think just looking at the replay, Van Arnold actually volleyed it into one of his own teammates, which took it, crossed the face of goal, very nearly went in there, and then McNeil couldn't get the shot on target. Mee lofts the ball high in the air. Peters tries to keep it in play. Knocked forward to Ayew with his back to goal, lays it off to Milivojevic, gives it away. Lovely skill from McNeil, just skips past Milivojevic, gets his head down, and away he goes. Makes 50 yards, quickly up pitch, and shoots straight at Guaita, who makes an easy save.
Yeah, it opened up, didn't it? Good driving run from McNeil. I think Vidra wanted the ball played in the left-hand channel, but McNeil kept going and going. And in the end, a pretty tame effort on the edge of the box, left-footed. Guaita saving well down to his right-hand side.
Palace 0, Burnley 0. Coming up to 20 minutes played at Selhurst Park. Here's Phil Bardsley on the right for Burnley, lofting the ball diagonally towards the edge of the area. Scott Down heads it in the air and then nods it back to his goalkeeper Vicente Guaita. Half-time at Wembley. John Southall.
Exeter 0, Northampton 2. Ryan Watson with the first. Callum Morton on loan from West Brom with the second. 8 in 12 games for him now. Then in added time, Maxted denied Oliver and Good, and that would have been game over if either of those had gone in. The Exeter defence is absolutely all over the place, and this sums it up for them. Ryan Baumann got on the other side of the Northampton defence, then tripped over his own feet. So, half-time, it's the cardboard cutouts at the Northampton end who are celebrating, Ali. Exeter 0, Northampton 2.
Yeah, that's the League 2 playoff final, so playing to join Swindon, Crewe and Plymouth, and going up from League 2. Palace are trying to play out of trouble at the back at the moment. They've done it well. Van Arnholt in midfield to Ayew, who's able to turn, still inside his own half, and plays it wide to Zaha. Zaha against Bardsley is the match-up down Palace's left flank in the first half. Now Bardsley there just points to Josh Brownhill and says, you sort him out. Zaha plays the ball across the field. Nice first touch there from James MacArthur. Steps away from the challenger Jack Court. Back to Zaha. 2 defenders in front of him. MacArthur makes the run down to the byline, pulls the ball back, and Tarkowski knocks it behind for the corner. Chris, you'll be pleased to know, just heard from the production team, you did say Kieran Tierney. You were absolutely right. I'm sorry for doubting you.
Yeah, that's nice. At least you apologise. Clever from Zaha again there, left-hand side. Burnley doubled up, slid a good ball into MacArthur. Palace with the opportunity now in the corner.
We're at a deserted Selhurst Park. Corner for Palace. Goes low. Milivojevic into the feet of Zaha. Turns, floats the ball to the far post. Cahill on the volley, slices it badly. And behind for the goal kick.
Oh, that's clever, wasn't it, from Palace? Short corner into Zaha, who's standing just inside the 18-yard box next to the byline. He takes a touch, swivels, dinks the ball up to Cahill, who's 12, 14 yards out. And that's one of those mind the windows volleys from Gary Cahill. And here are the drinks.
Gary Cahill is yet to score for Crystal Palace since joining. George, our producer, just passed me the note that would you have played with Gary Cahill as well
at Aston Villa?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. He was a good young defender at Villa. I was only there 6 months till I sadly had to retire, Bruce.
Yeah.
But no, what a career he's had. A stellar career. Been a brilliant player. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? That he was up for grabs in the summer, and you look at Arsenal's back line. Because we look at him here at Palace and he's still extremely athletic. I don't know how old he is now. I know he's getting on a little bit, but he's still got a yard of pace and reads the game so well, doesn't he? As a leader at the back, why wouldn't you sign him if you're Arsenal?
It's interesting you ask his age, because obviously that's the kind of thing I study. So I can tell you he's 34 and he was born on the 19th of December 1985. So, you ask and... information gets delivered. You're not missing any football. We're in a drinks break at the moment. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, 61 England caps. I think he played at 4 major tournaments, 2 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups, a Champions League. He's done pretty much everything in the game.
Good footballer, comfortable on the ball.
Yeah,
reads the game well. You can see it. He has had a major influence on this Palace back line. Stroke of genius from Roy Hodgson to get him in.
Didn't particularly want to leave Chelsea either, Chris, because I remember interviewing him this season at Stamford Bridge when Palace went back there, and he was quite emotional in the post-match interview about that, that subject and his time at Chelsea and how it ended.
Yeah, and in many respects, you could argue Chelsea should have given him another season. I think if they have a weakness maybe. It's in that centre-half area.
Yeah.
Big fan of Rudiger, but not so sure about Christensen.
Right, we're back underway at Selhurst Park. Palace 0, Burnley 0. Long clearance downfield from Nick Pope, and there is Cahill to win the header. Kouyaté with the second header. Jack Cork onto it quickly for Burnley. Peters slides a pass into Vidra. Lovely layoff here to Brownhill. Brownhill to McNeil. McNeil with his jet black hair goes dancing away down that right-hand side. Palace get a couple of men around him. Kouyaté's one of them. Low pass from him to Van Arnholt. James McArthur in the left-back position, clips it away with his right foot. Tarkowski leans over Ayew to win the header. Nodded back to McArthur again. McArthur clears with his left foot. Townsend brings it down on his heel. That was nicely done. Ayew's fouled by Phil Bardsley. And that is a free kick for Crystal Palace.
What a beautiful take that was from Andros Townsend. Long ball clipped into him with his back heel into Ayew, who did what good centre forwards have to do: take a hit, draw the foul. Now Palace just into the Burnley half. Have got Gary Cahill and Scott Dan going forward. Hit a diagonal off this free kick. Van Arnholt.
25 minutes play. Palace 0, Burnley 0. Kouyaté battling for it on the edge of the box. Can't get anywhere near it. Headed away by Ben Mee, who waves the rest of the Burnley back line up the pitch. Townsend on the right. Floats the ball to the far post with his left foot. Cahill chests it down. There's a foul in the box, and it's a foul against James McArthur. So free kick goes to Burnley. The video assistant referee this evening is Graham Scott, watching from the comfort of Stockley Park, and he's had pretty much nothing. Well, I mean, they're watching the entire game for any potential incident, but we've not needed the involvement so far of the video assistant referee. Burnley have got it back underway. Brighton Manchester United is your commentary on 5 Live tomorrow night, kicking off at 8:15, and then Bournemouth Newcastle 5 Live commentary on Wednesday night is a 6 o'clock kickoff, so make sure you're there for that one. Good header from Brownhill forward. Bardsley continued his run, waits for Brownhill, then delivers it. Brownhill wide on the right, gets past Van Arnholt. There's the pullback. McNeil hits the shot. He's closed down quickly by Milivojevic. Zaha heads it away. Tarkowski controls it on his thigh. Here come Burnley again down the right. Little nutmeg from Bardsley through the legs of Zaha to McNeil. And back to Jack Cork.
They've actually played some very good stuff. Burnley have kept the ball well. They haven't got the physical presence up top, but McNeil's making a nuisance of himself in and off Vidra. It's just that when they get in and around the Crystal Palace box, they're not making the most of that final ball. Up to there, playing some good stuff.
Chris Sutton with us on 5 Live Sport this evening. Palace 0, Burnley 0. Roy Hodgson has his hand on his mouth and he's pondering at the moment what to do, what his team can do to try and see a little bit more of the ball. Although, as Chris was saying right at the start of the game, Palace don't necessarily need loads of the ball to win games. Tackled by Joel Ward on Charlie Taylor, and the ball's out for a Burnley throw. In fact, I remember earlier in the season coming here, Palace beat Bournemouth with 10 men. They lost Sacco early in the game and did exactly that. Soaked it up, let Bournemouth come forward. Bournemouth couldn't find a way through, and then Palace won the game 1-0 with a goal in the second half.
They're so patient and disciplined, but they have some really good footballers. You know, you look at that central midfield trio, they can all handle the ball. Kouyaté, McArthur, Milivojevic.
Westwood gives it to McNeil, who's slightly deeper inside the Burnley half. Eric Peters had to be quick to get his pass away, did so. Layoff from Vidra, who's shown some nice touches in terms of the layoff play and making the runs into space, but Burnley would love him to get on the end of something. Here's Westwood. Westwood to McNeil, midway inside this Crystal Palace half. Digs his left foot underneath the ball and sweeps it high out to the left-hand side to Taylor. Taylor's passing field is intercepted. Here's Kouyaté. Plays it back to Scott Dan. Burnley step off Dan, so he's able just to stand there and look for options. Rolls a pass into Milivojevic on the edge of the Palace box. Gives it to Gary Cahill. Cahill's waving Van Arnholt ahead of him down the left. Van Arnholt tries to get it back to Cahill, blocked by McNeil, and the ball is out for a Palace throw. So that ball that disappears into the stands then goes back to one of these match officials who's got his cloth and his anti-back wipe, and the ball gets cleaned, and then gets ready to come on the field again when we need another one. That looked like a decent challenge from Bardsley on. No?
Bruce, come on. It grabbed Zaha's left arm and pulled him back. And that's the issue. Palace, they want to get the ball out to Zaha when he's 1v1 with Bardsley. That's the ideal scenario. Really good feet from MacArthur in the first place to prod the ball into Zaha on that left-hand side.
Roy's still not had a haircut, by the way, Chris. Just got a close-up there of the long flowing locks of the Crystal Palace manager. He's wearing it well. Townsend's run out of space down the right.
Yeah, how many over 70s would love a head of hair like that? It's amazing. That's showing off, isn't it?
Palace 0, Burnley 0. Westwood, diagonal ball across the field for Burnley. Brownhill lobs it forward with his knee. Zaha's too quick, too strong for Brownhill. Takes it off him. Ball is back with Gary Cahill. Cahill lots of space to pass the ball into. Joel Ward goes scampering after it. Now in his 8th season at Crystal Palace, Joel Ward, who was signed from Portsmouth for just £400,000 back in 2012. Brought in to replace Nathaniel Klein. One of the most important things he ever did for Crystal Palace was the playoff final. I think possibly in his first season, when he cleared one off the line. And Palace went up, and here's Cahill again, playing back to his goalkeeper Guaita, all in green, short-sleeved goalkeeping shirt. Ball is out to Scott Dan. Scott Dan 10 yards inside his own half, goes long, but too long that for Zaha, who was struggling to get there, but Ayew is onto the loose ball, 30 yards out, might fancy a dip here with his right foot, and Pope gets down to his right and makes the save.
Very, very comfortable for Pope. Ayew working a bit of space, as you said, 35 yards out, but probably the first time we've seen Palace try and go in behind the Burnley back line. Burnley playing with quite a high line. There is room for the Palace forwards to make those runs.
Less than 15 minutes to play in the first half. Still Crystal Palace 0, Burnley 0. Van Arnholt flicks infield to Zaha. 3 goals for Wilfred Zaha for Crystal Palace.
Not enough
this season.
I think a player of his quality and talent, I think should be up near the double-figure mark.
Townsend to Ayew, who is close to that double-figure mark. Back to Townsend on the right foot. Now he sometimes likes a shot from range and has scored some crackers. He's played it back to Ayew, to MacArthur, looking for Ayew again. Burnley get enough bodies in there to intercept. What can they do on the counter? McNeil again. So good, McNeil, getting past that first man, isn't he?
Van Arnholt, really clever player, isn't he? Wonderful awareness. Sucks Van Arnholt in, and the Burnley players aren't happy, surrounding Simon Hooper and saying, come on. And Simon Hooper, I think, giving Van Arnholt his final warning there. One more and he'll be in the book.
Simon Hooper holding the finger up, saying exactly that. It was Roy Hodgson who was wagging the finger before the game today at the cameraman, who tried to get a little close to a pre-match chat between him and Sean Dyche. Free kick for Burnley. The ball is inside the centre circle in their half. Mee goes straight up the middle of the pitch, high and towards Tarkowski. Kouyaté wins the header. Peters with another header forward. Awkward for Ward to volley it away on his right foot, but he's done that. Ayew chases the clearance. Mee gets there first. Spinning clearance hit high in the air. Milivojevic gets a nudge in the back from Tarkowski. And that's a free kick for Crystal Palace. From a purely selfish point of view, Chris.
You're good at selfish.
I'm just thinking about the Fantasy 606 podcast, which we'll be recording on Friday.
Don't say it. I know what you're going to say. Don't say it.
I'm going to say it. I've got Nick Pope and Joel Ward. So one from Burnley, one from Palace, both in the defensive area of the team. 0-0, actually. I wouldn't mind it. For me. Just purely for me.
Forget the listeners, Bruce, around the world.
It is 0-0 at the moment, but obviously I'd be delighted if we get some goals this evening. Here's Townsend. Townsend on the turn, inside the Burnley half, flicks a little ball into the edge of the box. Tarkowski reads it and clears.
They're just not moving the ball quickly enough, Palace, when they get into the Burnley half. Burnley getting back into their shape, the 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, as you like. Very strong unit defensively when you allow them to have time to shuffle back.
The MacArthur wide to Ward. Now Townsend whips that cross in from the right. Tarkowski back heels it away on the volley. Westwood is there, back to me and Tarkowski, always there for Burnley, alongside each other, and doing another great job so far this evening. MacArthur trying to make space for a shot on the edge of the box. Still Palace coming forward. Van Arnholt gives it to the danger man Zaha. Immediately 3 green shirts right in front of him. Milivojevic gets it from Zaha, plays it across to the right. Joel Ward just side foots a ball out to Townsend. That's clever from Townsend. Knocks it past Taylor, edge of the area.
Got back well, didn't he? Lovely little nutmeg, I think it was, from Townsend.
Cross in from Joel Ward, and MacArthur was lurking at the far post, headed behind by Tarkowski, by Bardsley, I beg your pardon, and that's a corner for Crystal Palace.
Oh, I think it's a goal kick, isn't it? I tell you what, it was some ball in from Ward. I just wondered whether Bardsley gets the slightest of touches at the far post. He does, and it just puts MacArthur off, who had seen it all the way. Had he had a free header there, 6 yards out, he would have been odds on to score. Crucial from Phil Bardsley, that touch.
10 minutes remaining in the first half. Crystal Palace 0, Burnley 0. Bardsley and Peters in this evening. Matt Lowton and Jay Rodriguez unavailable, as are the likes of Johan Berg Gudmundsson, Robbie Brady, Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes. McNeil down the right for Vidra. Jack Cork's in the middle. Low cross, easy for Guaita. Didn't get enough on that, Vidra, and Guaita was able to fall on it at the near post.
Yeah, once again, that final ball just not good enough. Only one Burnley player in the box as well, as Vidra got to the byline down the right-hand side.
Dwight McNeil can't win the header on the halfway line. Crystal Palace get the ball back. Here's Cahill. Wide to Van Arnholt. Zaha comes towards him, just inside the Burnley half. Zaha expecting the challenge from Bardsley from behind, but got his pass away before it could come. Here's Milivojevic. He's got a white strapping around his right wrist as he plays the ball to Van Arnholt. Zaha dummy to go down the line there, came short to collect. MacArthur tries to find Zaha again on the left. Here's Milivojevic, 35 yards out in central position, onto Ayew. Slightly challenged by Tarkowski, wins the ball. Dwight McNeil brings it away. Now he's not got many options here. He's going to have to go it alone. Van Arnholt with the challenge, and Burnley get the throw.
Yeah, he did brilliantly there, as did Tarkowski with that challenge on Ayew. It was a clever little ball from Milivojevic into Ayew, 25 yards out. See Wilf Zaha just having a word with the assistant for Burnley, Ian Woan.
And Dyche, yeah. Look at this continuing, yeah. Zaha.
Yeah, you like a bit of niggle, Bruce, don't you?
Well, it gives us something to talk about, Chris, but no, Zaha back-heeled the ball away in sort of frustration. Sean Dyche said something. Zaha is still going. Still going between the pair of them. Keep an eye on that one. Sean Dyche is still going. Now he's talking to Roy Hodgson about it. Palace 0, Burnley 0.
It was all pretty friendly, wasn't it, before the game, pre-match? Nice leisurely chat on the pitch, but
Tarkowski looking for a long one through the middle. Cork is having to make those runs forward, tries to get on the end of it. Can't get a proper connection on it. Joel Ward clears. Here's Ashley Westwood, another former Villa man. Into the feet here of Peters. Lays it off to Vidra. Onto Brownhill. Back to Vidra. Couldn't control it. Milivojevic tackles. Hurried clearance from Van Arnholt. Here's McNeil. He's the one who really does look like he might be able to open something up for Burnley. Back to Westwood. Westwood's a long way out inside the Palace half. Vidra just lays the pass off to Cork. Westwood again.
Well, McNeil's one of those, isn't he, where you think, how are Burnley going to be able to hold on to him this summer? I think there'll be plenty of clubs in for him. He's a real talent.
Burnley playing some good stuff in this first half. They've worked it wide right to Bardsley. Back to McNeil again. Just eases his way past MacArthur, then skins Milivojevic. Ayew eventually in with the tackle. But he's been as good on the ball going forward for Burnley as Zaha often is for Palace. Here's Zaha anyway, gives it to MacArthur, and then McNeil's back to win a tackle as well, to win the ball back. So doing the other side of it.
Yeah, playing some good stuff, Burnley. I remember doing the Champions League final, Spurs Liverpool, telling Sean Dyche, you've got to improve your brand of football, Sean. Some pretty stuff this evening, Bruce.
You think he listened?
Do you think I said it?
Here's Jack Cork for Burnley, just outside the Crystal Palace area. Cross comes in from Taylor. Townsend's back to block. These two teams are so good defensively, aren't they?
And that
so
shirt,
well organised.
that shirt right forward, working back, but it's just been the issue with Burnley has been that final ball all first half. Pretty on the eye, but no punch as of yet.
Another chance here to try and threaten, but they're going to work from the throw-in back to the halfway line. It's Chris Sutton with us here at Selhurst Park this evening. Crystal Palace 0, Burnley 0. Brownhill bringing it in from the right, gets bumped off the ball by a combination of Van Aanholt and Milivojevic. Free kick Burnley, long way out.
Is it within range here?
Yeah, go on, Chris. You'd have shot from there, wouldn't you? Hey?
What, we sort of 30 yards right-hand side of the box, do you think?
Yeah. What was the furthest out you scored from?
Don't be ridiculous. I would have scored from 30 yards.
I know, that's
Bruce,
what I'm asking. Probably further than that.
Yeah, probably. I'll have a think. I scored from outside the box, Bruce.
Of course you have. No, I've seen them, Chris. I've seen them.
I'll send some.
I've got my video of Chris Sutton's greatest goals. 5 minutes left in the first half. I don't think they are going to.
Long video.
I don't think they are going to shoot here. McNeil is not going to take it. Westwood is. Stands the ball up to the far post. Tarkowski didn't even jump there. Headed away by Scott Down. Brownhill plays it back to Charlie Taylor for Burnley. Brownhill wants Taylor to keep going. Taylor wasn't quite ready for that. Brownhill is able to get onto it past Milivojevic. They just about keep the ball. And again come from deep. Foot on it from Zaha. But McNeil has got it on the right. Go back is the shout. You might have heard that on our pitch side microphones. Comes back to Bardsley, pings one forward. Cahill heads it away, cushions a little header down to Van Aanholt. Gives it back to Cahill. He's given it away poorly. Early cross in from Westwood. Bounces in front of Guaita. He spilled it. Peters shoots. Weak shot straight at Guaita. Half a chance there.
Yeah, and as it dropped, as Joel Ward, who just did enough to put Eric Peters off. Bit of uncertainty from the goalkeeper. Guaita is a good ball in. No Burnley forward on the end of it.
Last 5 minutes of the first half. Here's Milivojevic for Crystal Palace. Just inside the Burnley half. Gives it to Kouyaté. Kouyaté is able to crab across the field towards Van Aanholt. It's back to Milivojevic now. Joel Ward's in a bit of space on the right. MacArthur knows that. Didn't even look. He just spun and hit the pass straight there.
Very slow.
It is, isn't it? Townsend back to Ward. Ward looks up, goes against the early cross, plays it back to Milivojevic. Milivojevic wide to Townsend, rolls the ball under the studs. Ward low cross into the area. Ayew trying to turn. He's tackled. McNeil lays it back. MacArthur's in to win it for Palace. Corner of the Burnley box. Townsend gets on that left foot. Floated cross towards Zaha at the far post. Barnsley read it, heads it away. Ball stays in play, wide on the left for Crystal Palace as they attack. Away to our left, and Zaha just teasing defenders in. Clever from Milivojevic, wins the free kick. McNeil's found him. McNeil says he hasn't, but Palace have won a free kick at 45 degrees to the goal, a few yards out of the Burnley box.
Yeah, McNeil irate with that. From Milivojevic, the ball 5 yard pass into him, and he knows McNeil's coming. Takes the first touch, moves it away with the second touch with his right foot, and McNeil does make contact. He looks frustrated. I think it was a free kick. Can Palace make something of this? Haven't done anywhere near enough in an attacking sense.
No, Nick Pope yet to be tested. Milivojevic over the ball. Two-man wall for Burnley on the corner of the penalty area. Milivojevic swings it in. Oh dear, oh dear.
I mean, you could have done better than that, Bruce. He's a good player, Milivojevic, but I mean, that wasn't within, as a right-footed in-swinger, within 10 or 15 yards of a Palace player.
Well, unless there was miscommunication. I mean, that was the ball aimed at the far post for someone to get on the end of. But there was what?
There couldn't have been miscommunication. It was just a rank, rotten piece of play. Dreadful, Milivojevic.
Palace 0, Burnley 0. As I said, which suits me in the fantasy football. I did notice as well, Chris, poor old Jan Bednarek in your team.
Yeah.
Southampton were heading for a clean sheet. You've got him, and he managed to stick one in his own net.
First time a defender scored for me all season, Bruce.
It was unfortunate, that. Van Arnold gets ready to take a throw for Crystal Palace. Palace 0, Burnley 0. Brighton, Manchester United in full tomorrow night on 5 Live. Bournemouth, Newcastle at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. 2 games in full on Thursday. Sheffield United against Tottenham. And then Manchester City against Liverpool at 8:15, which I think will be a very interesting evening at the Etihad Stadium. And 4 more commentaries coming your way on Sunday after Manchester United Bournemouth is our 3 o'clock offering on Saturday afternoon. Throw in for Palace, closing stages of the first half, thrown back to Milivojevic. Burnley close him down. Here's Scott Down. Scott Down plays it across his own half to Cahill. Cahill's pointing as the ball arrives towards him. Goes back to his goalkeeper, Guaita. Guaita side foots a ball out of the penalty area to Dan. Forward to Milivojevic. Jack Cork closes in. Play back to MacArthur, who's able to dribble out of his penalty area.
He's a good footballer. He is, MacArthur.
Pass forward intercepted by Joel Ward.
McCarthy on the bench today. Both started their career at Hamilton. That's all academical now, Bruce.
Oh dear. Both won the FA Cup at Wigan as well. Under Roberto Martinez. I haven't got a gag for that because I hadn't pre-planned one. Cahill. Diagonal ball inside his own half. Townsend is beaten in the air. It does feel like it's sort of grinding towards half-time a little, but look out, here come Burnley down the left with Charlie Taylor. He's only got Vidra in the middle if he can get the cross in. Cross is blocked and is behind. No, we're not going to get any more action in the first half because there goes the half-time whistle, and Burnley are complaining, why haven't we got a corner at the end of the half? So we knew it, Chris, we knew it before the game, didn't we, that 2 well-organised teams, very good defensively. Sean Dyche is short of a lot of attacking personnel. Palace struggled to score goals at home, but as you've been saying, Palace actually haven't done enough. Burnley have made more of the running, haven't they?
But Burnley, of course, missing plenty of strikers, 3 of their top strikers. They've been the better team, prettier on the ball, but no end products. And Palace, quite frankly, they're at home, haven't done enough going forward, haven't got Zahara on the ball enough. It's been a disappointing half from Crystal Palace's point of view, and I think 0-0's a fair result. We want to see a bit more goal-mouth action in the second half, Bruce. Come on.
Yeah, the goals we were talking about that we promised are definitely coming in the second half. Half-time at Selhurst Park, Palace 0, Burnley 0.
Chris, we've seen this slowing of pace in a lot of the games since the restart, and particularly in the first half, where there have been barely any goals so far. But even before the lockdown, we could have looked at this fixture and predicted how this game would go in the first half, couldn't we?
I take your point, Kelly. Yes. I think with what's at stake in this game, though, and the fact that Palace and Burnley have an opportunity of European football, they're safe in the Premier League. I think ideally we want them to release the shackles and go for it. We know they're not those types of team now, and I think that's the biggest issue. Palace, they play a defensive style game. They don't really get the full-backs beyond the wide players. They're more back supports, and they want to grind teams down, and Burnley are the same. I do think that Burnley have played some nice stuff, but we said before the game, when you're missing the likes of Wood, Barnes and Rodriguez, 3 really talented players, who always felt up top that they were going to be a little bit short. McNeil has been bright. It's just been that final ball from Burnley in and around the Palace box.
Yeah, and with Burnley missing all those players for the reasons that you've stated, James got in touch on social media and said, why are we, meaning Palace, so defensive at home? It's painful, he said. Do you think that, like you said, with what's at stake, you would want to see more from Crystal Palace against a much depleted Burnley side?
I think we want to see more. I think Roy Hodgson will demand more. I know they like to play in this fashion where they sit in and counter, but I think certainly when they've got into the Burnley half, they haven't passed the ball with enough purpose. They haven't moved it quickly enough. They haven't troubled the Burnley backline, who are superbly organised, we have to say that. But if you allow them time to get back and get into their shape, they're going to be difficult to play through. They are superbly well drilled. They're cancelling each other out, which is what we thought might happen. But it's going to take, you would think, a moment of individual brilliance from the likes of Zaha or Townsend from Palace's point of view, or McNeil from Burnley.
Guys, go and get yourself a drinks break, and we will be back with you for the second half. Chris Sutton and Alistair Bruce Ball at Selhurst Park, where it's Crystal Palace 0, Burnley 0. Chris Sutton was saying before the game that he thought this could be more entertaining than people predicted. I've got a little bit of insight into why he may have been leading people along that path, because Nick on social media is in the same boat as Ali Bruce Ball is in that, who says, "Dear Crystal Palace and Burnley, please, this game needs to end 0-0 as per schedule. No heroic efforts needed. Just be respectful and play the best boring Monday night football you two can muster. Yours sincerely, a fantasy manager with a keeper and defender on opposite sides." There'll be lots of fantasy footballers and fantasy football managers hoping that this one ends goalless. But it's not, and Michael Kitely joins us now, not the most entertaining of spectacles, is it, Michael?
No, it's not been a great first half, has it? But, you know, this is what Burnley do. They're very well organised, and they do make it difficult for teams to play against them. And they've done that for a number of years now. They're very solid at the back, and they don't really push on. So, you know, the likes of Zaha and Townsend can't hit Burnley on the break. And, you know, it's not pretty to watch tonight, but, you know, it's been getting Burnley results throughout the season.
And it may pick up in the second half. Meanwhile, at Wembley, John Southall has been watching 2 goals and a red card in the League Two playoff final.
Oh, it's all happening here. Exeter 0, Northampton 2. A ridiculous challenge by Dean Moxey, who is an experienced player. He's 34 years of age, had a long spell at Crystal Palace early on in his career, and really should know better. Went clattering through the back of Ryan Watson, and a straight red card. His side are 2-0 down, and that is the last thing that they needed, Exeter City, to be down to 10 men. And they've been a bit brighter in this second half as well. But you have to say, if they come back from this, it'll be just as impressive as Northampton's semi-final second leg, where they came from 2 down to win by 3-0. But at the moment, you really can't see it happening. Exeter trailing by 2-0 against Northampton, and they're down to 10 men.
And John, as you've said already this evening, Exeter's record in playoff finals is atrocious.
It is. It's terrible. This will be their 3rd defeat in 4 years here at Wembley in playoff finals. They lost in 2017 and they lost in 2018. So this will take quite some getting over if they lose again. You also have to say that before the lockdown, they weren't on a great run of form, and they've won 1 of their last 9 games. So they haven't come into it in any great form. But I think what will really annoy their manager is they knew what was coming here. They knew that they'd get bombarded from set pieces, and they just haven't dealt with it defensively in the first half. They're absolutely appalling. It could have been 5-0 at half-time.
John, just as a side note, I mean, I think we're not used to, but it's more familiar to see empty grounds when we're watching football. But Wembley looks really odd, doesn't it?
It is strange. I mean, you're right. We are getting used to it. But here, I mean, they have. I think also in other grounds in the Premier League, they make an effort and they put all the banners around the stadium. But because Wembley is so vast, they haven't really done that here. And it's more before the game when the players come out, and they had a light show, which I never think really works in daylight. They had a light show for nobody. And then we had the national anthem, so we were standing up for the national anthem, and I have to say that was quite a bizarre moment. Once the game gets underway, you kind of forget it slightly because you get caught up in it. But yeah, we're going to see some more playoffs here over the next few weeks, and it's strange.
Yeah, daytime light shows. It's the way forward. It's the future, John.
Ridiculous.
John Southall will keep us up to date with events at Wembley, where Northampton look as though they are heading towards promotion to League One. It's the League Two playoff final from Wembley. That one was a 7:30 kickoff, so we'll keep you up to date with what's happening there. Elsewhere tonight, the latest test results for coronavirus from the Premier League have been released. There was 1 positive test out of 2,250. The player or club member will now self-isolate for 7 days. Fulham will be without top scorer Alexander Mitrovic for the next 3 games due to violent conduct. Mitrovic has admitted to elbowing Leeds defender Ben White in their 3-0 defeat on Saturday. Dean Henderson's loan to Sheffield United has been extended for the remainder of the season. Former England manager Steve McLaren has held talks with Dundee United over their head coach role. Ben Stokes says he won't alter his style of play if he's confirmed as England captain for the first test against the West Indies. Regular skipper Joe Root is set to miss the match, which begins a week on Wednesday, for the birth of his second child. And BBC Sport understands this year's Ryder Cup is likely to be postponed. Meetings are ongoing and an announcement is expected this week. Now, as I said earlier, Michael Kitely is alongside us this evening. Michael, let's talk about one of your old clubs, because Wolves have won all 3 games since the restart without conceding a goal. They're in 5th place, above Manchester United, who have a game in hand. They play against Brighton tomorrow night. It's been such a strong start at a time when we've seen teams come back and look a little bit hesitant. Wolves have just rolled on. How well oiled is that machine that Nuno has there?
Yeah, it's very well oiled. As you said, they've come back and they've looked really good, to be honest. The games that I've watched, they've looked so solid at the back. They're not even giving away many chances, let alone goals. So it's really positive, and at the minute, it's mad to say, but I can really see them finishing in the Champions League positions, which is amazing, really, and hopefully they go on to do it.
And of course, last season they started in the Europa League, or they qualified for the Europa League, and then the start of this season, on the 25th of July, they started playing. And we saw that possibly affect their form at the start of the season. When you think what this team could have been capable of if there hadn't been that period of adjustment.
Yeah, but I think they dealt with it really well. I was worried that, they was going to have too many games. They haven't got the biggest of squads, and I was worried. I thought that the Europa League might affect the Premier League, and the last thing you want to see is them get relegated because of the Europa League. And they've dealt with it so well, and fair play to Nuno, because the way that he's gone about dealing with it has been amazing, really. And not only are they doing really well in the league, they're still right there in the Europa League. So they've got 2 opportunities to get to Champions League football next year, which would obviously be great. A good friend of mine was like, "We're going to win the league next year," and I'm like, "You're mad. Let's try and get to the Champions League first."
Well, but this is the point, and I know it's you're talking about your friend getting carried away there, but this is the point with Wolves, is that since since the owners have come in, it's about taking steady steps and making progress each season. So even if they weren't necessarily going to win the league next season, they would be expected to be challenging maybe just a place or 2 higher up the table.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Obviously, they have progressed each year since Nuno has taken over, and it's going to be very difficult to progress again next year. Are Wolves going to go and spend 50, 60 million on one player and strengthen like that? I'm not so sure. And next year, the big guns are going to be stronger. United are going to be stronger. Arsenal are going to be stronger. Spurs, you can name them all. They're all going to be stronger. So next season is going to be a very difficult season. So, this season is the season that I feel, if they're going to get to the Champions League, they need to do it now, really. And the way they're going, you wouldn't bet against them.
Yeah, we're just looking at the table. So Leicester in 3rd place on 55 points, and they've looked a little wobbly since they've come back from the restart. Chelsea in 4th place on 54 points. Wolves have played a game more, so they're in 5th on 52 points. And then it's Manchester United on 49 points, played 31. Then Tottenham behind, 45 points, played 31. So 7 points with 7 games to go is looking a little bit tricky for them to overcome. So if we look at that Leicester to Manchester United bunch, it's just so difficult to work out what's going to happen. But of those 4, do you think that Wolves have been arguably the most consistent?
I think, yes, over the season. I think over the season they've been a better team than Man United, but Man United have also come back in really good form. Wolves' last game of the season is against Chelsea, so that could be a great game to be involved in, and that could decide where the Champions League space does go. Obviously, if City lose out on Champions League football and 5th place then gets it, then you would fancy Wolves to get that. And as you said about Leicester, they haven't come back from the break looking great, to be honest, and they need to pick up now, because Wolves are breathing down their neck. So although the title's finished and that's sort of been over for a long time, it's a really interesting run to the end of the season for the Champions League spots. I believe there's two spots up for grabs there, and Wolves are right in the mix to get that.
Yeah, they've looked so good, particularly since the restart. Michael, for now, thank you very much to Michael Kitely. Meanwhile, at Selhurst Park, our commentary match this evening, in terms potentially of Europa League places, is Crystal Palace against Burnley. There hasn't been too much excitement in the first half from both of these teams. Chris Sutton and Alistair Bruce-Ball are our commentary team there. Chris, if there are players who are going to turn things around, is Dwight McNeil going to be one of them?
Yes, he's been extremely bright in the first half. Really clever player, and I think we've all sort of mainly recognised him on the left-hand side in a Burnley shirt. Wonderful delivery with the left foot. This is another side to his game. It shows he has terrific awareness when he's playing in that 10 role tonight. Takes the ball in really well, and if something is going to happen from Burnley's point of view, you do feel it's going to be Dwight McNeil who's going to make it happen.
And as always, Crystal Palace are looking to Wilfried Zaha. It's not been the sparkiest of performances from him this evening. I was surprised to read that he'd only scored 3 goals so far this season.
You weren't the only one. I was. I mean, it's difficult for him tonight because as soon as he gets the ball, Brownhill is back, doubling up alongside Bardsley, and they get one of the central midfielders, whether it's Westwood or Cork. They're aware and they're over. They understand the danger which he is. And I'm sure Roy Hodgson would have said before the game, get the ball out and let's hope that Wilf can get 1v1 with Bardsley, who's an ageing Phil Bardsley, and get at him. But credit to Sean Dyche, he's not letting that happen.
Ali, we've had a message in for you. Stephen Maidstone wants to know, what is pre-planning if it isn't just planning?
We were having this very conversation. You asked me that, didn't you, Chris?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So Sean Dyche was talking about
and you didn't come up with the satisfactory answer.
What did I... you're planning for the planning, aren't you? That's what it is. It's contingency planning.
It's a meeting about a meeting.
So it's planning.
Yeah, so if the initial plan doesn't go well, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure.
You plan a plan.
Well, as I said, Hannibal in the A-team never said, I love it when a pre-plan comes together. Did he? So
that's the best he could do.
That's all I could do. We're underway again, Kelly.
We are indeed. Just to let you know, if you want to hear crowd noise, stay with us on 5 Live. If you don't want to, then you can listen to the match au naturel on 5 Live Sports Extra. Either way, Chris Sutton and Alistair Bruce-Ball.
Thank you, Kelly. Palace 0, Burnley 0. When you're listening at home, Chris, do you go with the fake crowd noise or do you go...
Well, I've done a bit of both.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you? You mixed it up, have
both,
you?
Yeah, I like to mix it up, Bruce.
You do. Difficult man to read. Dwight McNeil is playing the ball back to Phil Bardsley. No changes made by either manager at half-time. When I get a second, I will read you out this Burnley bench because there's only 7 substitutes named this evening, which is what Sean Dyche did in the first game back after the restart against Manchester City, and 2 of them are goalkeepers. One is Bailey Peacock-Farrell, the Northern Ireland international, and the other is a young Dane called Lucas Jensen. Now you really can hear the shouts booming out. That's Ray Lewington that you can hear. Crystal Palace assistant manager, Roy Hodgson's assistant, shouting turn, play with it to Andros Townsend. He's tackled. Throw into Burnley in the left-back position. So Palace have got Guaita in goal, Ward, Cahill, Dan and Van Arnholt, Kouyaté, Milivojevic and MacArthur, and then Townsend, Ayew and Zaha. But Palace have made a change at half-time, which I didn't spot. McCarthy is on, Kouyaté is off. Just wonder as well, Chris, on the Wilfried Zaha thing, and not particularly getting into that game in the first half. He did pick up that injury, didn't he? Came off early against Liverpool, so you just wonder whether there's something there that's not letting him go.
I'm not buying that at all. I think that he's fit. I just think that Burnley have been switched on. Palace haven't moved the ball quickly enough and got it out to him to allow him to isolate Phil Bardsley, and that's been the issue.
Palace 0, Burnley 0. Palace are in the red and blue stripes, blue shorts, red and blue socks, playing from left to right towards the Holmesdale Road end in this second half, which is one of the most atmospheric areas inside a stadium in the Premier League, and they'll really miss them.
And when Roy Hodgson's mentioned the fans in the programme, such a passionate lot down here in South London, get behind the team. I think football fans are missed all over the country, aren't they? But especially at grounds like this, an old school ground, Bruce.
Looking a little more urgent, Palace, at the start of this second half.
Had to be.
MacArthur on the right, gets his cross indeed. Here's Zaha, brings it down on his thigh. It takes him out of the Burnley box. Burnley in dark green shirts this evening, black shorts, dark green socks. Ball cleared by Tarkowski, out for a throw into Palace on the left.
But that sort of summed Palace up in the first half. That piece of play, the ball wasn't a bad ball into Zaha, who took the ball out of the box. He then gets his head up and looks to play a 1-2 into Ayew, who was on his heels. And Burnley cleared the ball easily. Palace need to be sharper going forward, proactive. I tell you what, they'll look at this.
Ayew was fouled there, Chris, by Josh Brownhill, and I think he was about to get a free kick. The ref let it continue, and then Ayew stuck an arm out because Brownhill was still trying to tackle him. He caught him right in the face.
Well, it was a foul, you're quite right, on Jordan Ayew. But does he throw the arm, or is he just protecting himself? He goes down, he's caught, he has a look there. I think that's naughty, I do. I think he's had a look. I don't think he's actually thrown the elbow, but it's certainly high, and he certainly catches, who is it, Westwood in the face. I'd like to see that again. They are looking at it.
Simon Hooper's just saying to the rest of the players, just wait. The video assistant referee, and we can see on our replay monitor.
It's a get off. And it's does he elbow him? It's more with his forearm, isn't it? His left forearm.
But it is deliberate. He looks at him. He's annoyed about the initial challenge. It's not vicious, but it's a strong push into his face, into Brownhill's face. And on our monitors at the moment, checking possible red card for violent conduct.
Is it violent conduct? This could go either way. I don't think he throws his elbow, but his arm is raised and he does catch.
And the question, of course, is that a clear and obvious error missed by the referee? So that is what the video assistant referee,
isn't it? Yeah.
Graham Scott, is looking at the moment, and he's had plenty of looks
on this, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's a get off.
Play on, and no yellow card. So nothing. So that's red card or nothing, and it's nothing. Palace stay at 11 men. Get the free kick for the initial challenge, which was right. It was a foul by Brownhill on
Sean
Ayew.
Dyche may have something to say about that. It's a very difficult one, that. I've seen it back on the monitor now 2 or 3 times. He does catch Brownhill in the face. He certainly does with his left arm.
He's getting frustrated, Ayew, because there's a decision gone against him there, and he's up and he's chuntering to himself. He fell over Ashley Westwood there. Free kick for Burnley. Let me give you the Burnley team. By the way, just looking at another replay of that, Simon Hooper had a really good look at that. They're showing us it again. He definitely looks, he definitely throws his arm out, he definitely makes contact.
I think he's just trying to protect his space. I don't think he throws an elbow deliberately. He catches him with his forearm. I think you'd be sending off 3 players a game, Bruce.
Okay, fair enough. Your thoughts welcome. 85058.
I'm quite baffled there wasn't a yellow.
Yeah.
Though.
Ball played into the edge of the area. Headed away by Scott Dan. Palace 0, Burnley 0. I will give you this Burnley team in just a second. I'm aware I've not done that at the start of this second half. If you are just tuning in on 5 Live. Sean Dyche leaping up and down in frustration now in his technical area on the side of the pitch in front of us. Very nearly gets caught by Joel Ward's clearance there. Ball's out for a Burnley throw. Pope in goal. Bardsley, Tarkowski, Mee and Peters. Mee and Taylor, I beg your pardon. Taylor at left back. Peters is playing ahead of him on the left-hand side of midfield, who's coming to the side this evening. Lowton and Rodriguez have joined the injury list at Burnley. Josh Brownhill on the right. Westwood and Cork in central midfield. And Dwight McNeil is really good in this role, playing off Matej Vidra, picking the ball up in pockets of space and just a drop of the shoulder and a turn of speed. And he's been beating players with ease. Throw in for Burnley on the left. Their bench, though, as I said, 2 goalkeepers in Peacock Farrell and Lucas Jensen. Kevin Long, the Republic of Ireland defender, is a name you'll probably recognise. The others I don't think you will, as the cross comes in from Taylor. Cahill clears it on the half volley with his right foot. Volleyed in the air by Jack Cork. Headed forward by Milivojevic. Ayew side foots a ball to Zaha.
And there he is, Brownhill, immediately across, and they're doubling up. Zaha wins the free kick. Here's one for you, Bruce.
Yeah.
So, we had the incident with Ayew on Brownhill, but there's a monitor, isn't there? It was what, 20 yards from Simon Hooper?
Go and have a look yourself.
Why not go and have a look? Don't load it all on Stockley Park. Use your own eyes. I think it was the first incident of a referee going to a monitor here, wasn't it?
Michael Oliver did it in the FA Cup against Derby, and it led to a sending off. Here's Van Arnholt's free kick into the edge of the penalty area. Drops down in the Burnley box. Ayew with the back heel. Clever. Cahill shoots. Good save. Nick Pope low to his right-hand side, and Gary Cahill still yet to get that first goal for Palace.
And that was a chance. It really was. Clever little back heel from Ayew. Free kick as the ball dropped. But Cahill is falling away. It's not a good enough contact. You see 12 yards out. Doesn't get the power on the shot, and Pope gets down to his right-hand side very easily to make the save.
MacArthur chests it down. So McCarthy, can see him now out there for Palace. Here he is. First touch of the second half. Number 22 on his back. As Chris was saying in the first half, the two men that have followed each other a little in their careers. Hamilton, FA Cup winners at Wigan. James McCarthy obviously then went off to Everton. Here's Andros Townsend using Zaha. This is a chance for Zaha to run at the Burnley defenders. Low cross is cut out, comes back to Townsend. Nice touch, right-footed drive. Blocked by Brownhill. Zaha, good first touch on the corner of the Burnley box. Little trick from him, then the right-footed shot. That's another block by Ben Mee. So Pope is protected again, not needing to make the save. Cahill down the left. Van Arnholt can't control it. Bardsley falls over as he tries to clear, makes a second clearance. There's Westwood towards Vidra on his own inside the Palace half. Burnley players are trying to get forward. Peters is one of them, wide on the left-hand side.
Too long, didn't he? Had the opportunity to get it across to Taylor.
Laid it back to Westwood. Westwood wide to McNeil inside the Palace box. Curling effort, easy save for Guaita.
There's decent feet from McNeil, right-hand side of the box, chopping back on his left foot, but comfortable for Guaita.
Palace 0, Burnley 0. Ayew's fouled on the halfway line. League 2 playoff final continues at Wembley. There's been another goal. John Southall.
And surely all over now. Exeter 0, Northampton 3. Marshall on the right-hand side played it into Sam Hoskins 10 yards out, and he side-footed in. So after 18 years, Keith Curle surely is finally going to get his promotion. Exeter 0, Northampton 3.
Crystal Palace coming forward with Ayew on the edge of the Burnley penalty area. Again, Palace looking a little static, wanting Zaha to make it happen. They appeal for handball, rather hopefully, not going to get that. Townsend chests it down. Townsend with his right foot crosses behind MacArthur. It's volleyed away. Vidra, not great control from him.
He's got to hold that in, and that's what the likes of Wood and Barnes would give this Burnley team. It's more encouraging, isn't it, for Crystal Palace in this second half. If they would have got a Roy Rocket at half-time.
10 minutes gone, second half. Still 0-0. Here they come again, the home team. MacArthur looking for Ayew with the pullback. Tarkowski blocks it. MacArthur again. Playing it back to the left. McCarthy forward to Zaha. Slides a little pass into Milivojevic. Down by the byline on the left. Good pullback. Oh, it's missed by Van Arnholt. He was running in at pace. Tried to hit it first time. It was just behind him, and he couldn't make contact. Throw into Palace.
Yeah, Zaha's been very good in this game in terms of identifying when to play a pass and when to dribble at defenders, and because he's been marked by 2 or 3 players all the time, it was a clever little ball in, and Van Arnholt nearly on the end of that from Palace. Palace building pressure now.
Northampton heading towards League One, as we were hearing from John Southall. You've got to feel for Exeter City fans.
He's done an incredible job, though, Keith Curle.
Yeah.
You'd have said Northampton promotion at the start of the season.
Townsend on the right for Palace.
What would you have said to that, Bruce? You'd have said cobblers.
Dear oh dear. Blackpool beat Exeter in the playoff final 2017. Coventry did it to them in 2018. And Northampton doing it to them this evening. Free kick for Burnley. Palace 0, Burnley 0. Here's the Burnley bench then. Max Thompson, who got on very late in the 5-0 defeat against Manchester City, is an 18-year-old striker they got from Everton in December. Jimmy Dunn is a 22-year-old Irish defender who initially started out in Manchester United's Belfast Academy and has had some loan spells over the last couple of seasons at Barrow in the National League, helped Accrington win the League 2 title in 2018, then at Hearts and Sunderland last season.
Remember seeing him at Hearts.
Yeah. Van Arnholt heads clear. Number 37 is Bobby Thomas, who's a 19-year-old centre-back. Now, this is where Zaha likes to get going, down that channel, looking for Ayew. Tarkowski slides in, catches Ayew on the edge of the box, and that is a yellow card, I think. Yeah, he's gone to his pocket, the referee. Tarkowski gets booked. Crystal Palace get the free kick.
Well, Tarkowski knows he went to ground early. Once again, Zaha becoming prominent in this game. Driving, surrounded by players. Clever little ball into Ayew, had made a run in behind Tarkowski, left-hand side of the box.
Do you know what? I'm just thinking on the...
that's handy.
On the red card, potential red card for the Ayew elbow. I think the reason he couldn't get a yellow is because the VAR can only advise on the red card. So he can't say... He can either say, yes, it's a red, or no, it's not a red. He can't say, yes, you can give him a yellow. That's my theory. And if you know more about the laws of the game than I do, which you probably do...
Why didn't he just give him a yellow anyway?
Having seen it himself. And maybe he didn't see it clearly. Free kick, Crystal Palace.
Complicating things.
Always do, Chris. Milivojevic on the edge of the box. Line of vanishing spray is down, and Burnley toes are just creeping forward over that white line. Nick Pope waits on the goal line. Tall man, all in yellow. Milivojevic with the right foot round the wall, but blocked again. Headed towards Milivojevic by Ward. Burnley coming clear. Westwood couldn't get away on the halfway line. Zaha operating at more speed in this second half, it feels like, getting a bit more space. Van Aanholt trying to flick a ball into Ayew. Burnley cut it out. Here's Peters, always giving it away inside his own half. McCarthy playing forward to Zaha, quickly tackled there. Westwood gets another chance for Burnley. On to McNeil. Now McNeil will enjoy this, running at Gary Cahill, backpedaling. McNeil goes past McCarthy, caught by McCarthy. McCarthy's hurt himself, he's hurt McNeil, and McCarthy's going to get booked.
Looks such a danger, doesn't he, McNeil, when he gets in possession. He's rolling around on the floor. Sean Dyche cannot afford to lose him.
No. Bobby Thomas, so I was just going through those Burnley subs, 19-year-old centre-back. And the other one is Mace Goodridge, who's 20 and is in his second season at Burnley, a midfielder having joined from Newcastle. Before that, he was on the books at Manchester City. But the point being, Chris, that 4 players there, one of whom seen, I think, a minute of first-team action. So
this doesn't look good for Dwight McNeil, no. And the point about the subs, and we know that Sean Dyche has worked with a small squad throughout his time at Burnley, but they can make such a difference having a strong bench, and that may be his frustration. We see the likes of Chelsea over the weekend, totally, we know it's Chelsea, we know they're a powerhouse compared to Burnley and the money that they can spend, but they can change the game from the bench. Sean Dyche will be thinking, who can actually come on and make an impact. He'll be looking round and thinking there's not a lot there. I'll want them to go on and do well, but can they change the game?
And the point is, it's not just injuries, is it? It's contract situation. So Hendrick, Hendrick's a great example, isn't it?
That was ridiculous, wasn't it?
Good player. McNeil is up and walking.
Well, even Aaron Lennon as well was let go.
That's right, yeah. Free kick for Burnley, 0-0. Westwood takes it. Mee with the header is in. It's beaten Guaita in off the post. Ben Mee, on his 300th league appearance for Burnley with a diving header, has broken the deadlock at Selhurst Park. It's Palace 0, Burnley 1.
Well, leave it to me. It's a really good ball, but Mee gets across his marker. He still has so much to do with the header. Throws himself full length and directs the header. I think it's in off the post. Generates really good power on. I'm just looking at it again on the monitor. He must be 14 yards out. I've got to say, I think the keeper should do much better. Guaita gets he gets actually the palm of his left hand to it. Roy Hodgson will be furious. He'll know the keeper should have got it round the post, but you have to credit Mee. His desire to get in front of his marker. It's weak goalkeeping. We can see that Guaita shaking his head, but credit to Ben Mee.
Brilliant header, but as Chris Sutton says, Vicente Guaita will know he should have done better. MacArthur looked like he might have been offside there. Cross comes in, and Mee this time defending at his near post, blocks it behind for the corner.
Well, it wasn't even a fingertip from Guaita where you could understand. He actually got the palm of his left hand to it. He must have thought when he's in flight this is going to be a comfortable save. Now Palace have to really up their game. They have done in this second half somewhat.
18 minutes gone second half, and Burnley have a lead to hold on to. Corner in from the left, an away swinger, funny delivery, low swerving one, volleyed away. Joel Ward is back there on his own for Crystal Palace on the halfway line. High ball swung to the left. McCarthy back heels a volley to Zaha. Zaha lays it off to Van Arnholt. Van Arnholt floats the cross in high. Pope lets Charlie Taylor.
Did well, didn't he?
Chest it down to him, yeah. That was good.
Diagonal ball in, didn't panic. Charlie Taylor.
Ben Mee, his last goal for Burnley before that one tonight was over 4 years ago in the Championship in March 2016 away at Huddersfield. Another goal at Wembley, John Southall.
Another for Northampton. Exeter 0, Northampton 4. Andy Williams tucked in from 4 yards out, and Exeter now just need to hear the final whistle. Andy Williams a sub with the fourth. Exeter 0, Northampton 4.
Losing a playoff final hurts desperately. Losing a playoff final in an empty stadium is just going to have to be the worst. 1-0 to Burnley here. Nick Pope was about to come and try and collect that outside his area and clear. Tarkowski decided to take control of it himself, clears with his left foot, and the ball's out for a Palace throw. So teams to win at Selhurst Park this season, not easy to do in the league. Manchester City, Leicester, Liverpool, Southampton and Sheffield United. Only 5 teams have done it, and Burnley, who've only won on one of their last 13 visits here, are in front. It was a great header, Chris, wasn't it? I know Guaita should have saved it, but it was from the range he was at to sort of...
It was a good delivery, pace on the ball, but you know, to think that he's 14 yards out, you have to generate accuracy and power. The keeper should have saved it, but take nothing away from me. He's wholehearted, isn't he? Him and Tarkowski, I think they're a bit of a throwback, rugged defenders, good defenders.
Yeah, that's why Burnley have got all the clean sheets. Looking for
I think they're both played in every game this season.
I think you're right, Chris, yeah.
A very, very good partnership, the foundation for Burnley. And now if they can hold on here, this would be a huge, huge victory for them.
Yeah, up to 8th. They'd be level on points with Tottenham on 45.
And it strengthens Sean Dyche's hand, doesn't it? You know, look at my bench. You can say to the board.
Milivojevic going for a long diagonal. I thought it was going to be a good ball and just over Joel Ward's head.
Ward's fault. Ward's got to be on the feet on the touchline there. What they tell you as a youngster, when you're wide, stay as wide as you can. Had he been on the touchline, he could have taken that on his chest.
Burnley and Tottenham would be on 45 points. You'd have Manchester United on 49, Wolves on 52. But the point being, as we were saying before kick-off tonight, that 8th place, depending on what happens to Manchester City, on the ruling on them, on whether they will be able to take part in the Champions League next season, 8th place could be enough for Europa League football. But Palace still have plenty of time to try and do something about this. We're on air until 10:30 on 5 Live Sport tonight. It's 1-0 to Burnley. Brighton, Manchester United is your commentary on 5 Live tomorrow night. We've got 4 of them on Sunday, and Burnley involved in the first one. That's Burnley against Sheffield United.
Well, they go above Sheffield United, don't they?
It's another big game.
And when you think that, quite rightly so, all the praise Sheffield United have been getting this season, and Burnley can hang on and sneak in front.
Jack Cork's down and hurt. Play continues. Crystal Palace are attacking, so Burnley are defending with 10 men. Palace are not going to put the ball out, and the referee Simon Hooper has stopped play. It's not a head injury because he's holding his right heel, so he didn't need to do that. Well, no, he's going drinks break, is he? He's decided to call the drinks break. That's convenient.
I think he's played his get out of jail free card there, hasn't he?
He has. Right, here's one for you, Chris, because I know you love a quiz. I know you love me setting you quiz questions. So, and this is for the listeners tonight as well. We're on air until 10:30, 85058 at BBC 5 Live on social media. Nick Pope has kept 12 clean sheets this season, which puts him in the running for the Golden Glove Award, which came in 2004. The Golden Glove Award for the goalkeeper that keeps the most clean sheets in the Premier League. At the moment, he's level with Alisson on 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goalkeepers have won that since 2004. Petr Cech.
Peter.
Yes, correct. Okay. Here we go. Hang on, we're going to, during the drinks break, while Chris has a little think about the quiz, with Burnley leading 1-0, we're going to hand back to the studio, Kelly Cates.
Ali, thank you very much. The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, has announced targeted lockdown measures for Leicester and the surrounding areas to deal with an outbreak of coronavirus cases. From tomorrow, non-essential retail businesses will have to close. From Thursday, schools will only be open for vulnerable pupils and the children of key workers. The relaxation of shielding measures will not happen as scheduled. Residents have been urged to stay at home as much as you can and avoid non-essential travel to, from and within the city. The Secretary of State said while in cases in most parts of the country have fallen since peak, in Leicester they've continued to rise and cases there are 3 times higher than in the next highest city. So there is a targeted lockdown for Leicester, and you can hear more of that on the news at 10 o'clock. Time now, though, to head back to Selhurst Park for commentary of Palace against Burnley with Chris Sutton and Alistair Bruce Ball.
Thank you, Kelly. An important message to get out there. As Kelly says, more in the news at 10 o'clock here on 5 Live, and then Colin Murray taking over from 10:30, so I'm sure we'll have more reflections and details on that this evening here on 5 Live. So Chris is thinking of 7 other goalkeepers who might have won the Golden Glove Award in the Premier League. Burnley are leading Palace 1-0. Palace have got to try and do something about it. Yeah, go on then. Go on, check. Yeah.
Schmeichel.
That's incorrect. So you're out. You're gone. Thanks for playing. Well done.
I was joking.
Not Schmeichel. Which Schmeichel were you thinking?
Well, you said
Zaha on the left for Palace. Which Schmeichel? No,
I'm not playing now. I'll tell you one thing we do notice from Palace since they've gone behind. Their fullbacks are 30 yards higher up now. They're giving it a go.
Substitution for Burnley. Kevin Long, so the experienced man on the bench, comes on. And who's coming off? Didn't see a numbers board go up. George has got it. Our producer. Oh, Jack Cork. Cork who went down. Yeah. Okay. Long on for Cork. Corner for Palace. Headed away only as far as Andros Townsend. Right, MacArthur, bit of space on the right. Low cross comes in, cleared at the near post by Peters, behind for another corner. Bit of Palace pressure here, Chris.
Yeah, and of course not ideal. Long coming on for Cork. It's one of the only times you wouldn't have wanted to see a Cork go off. It's not like for like a defensive player. They're missing out the heartbeat of their midfield. Burnley now.
Corner for Palace. You can see the wind is blowing at Selhurst Park tonight. That blue and red corner flag flapping as Van Arnholt, with the peroxide blonde hair, delivers it into the far post. Nodded down, all missed clearance by Charlie Taylor. Milivojevic tries to curl one in towards the far post. Cahill heads it in the air. It's head tennis in the box. And there's a foul in there. Probably a couple of fouls in there. Eric Peters has gone down holding his head. Free kick to Burnley. 20 minutes to play.
It'll be interesting how Burnley shape up now with Long coming on. What they do have, they have another player with physical presence, so when Palace are loading the balls in, another player of size who's very, very strong in the air.
Full-time whistles blown at Wembley. Northampton on their way to League One. John Southall.
They are celebrating at an empty Wembley. Exeter 0, Northampton 4. They will play in League One next season. Quite an achievement, especially when you consider they lost the semi-final first leg 2-0, finished 7th in the table. But this was so comfortable. Watson and Morton scored the first half goals, and any chance that Exeter had disappeared when Dean Moxey was sent off an awful challenge on Watson on the hour mark. Hoskins added the third, Williams the fourth. So after 18 years, Keith Curle gets his first managerial promotion. You have to feel for Exeter, though. 3 defeats in the last 4 years in the playoff final, and that will take some getting over. But Northampton will play in League One. They've won by 4-0.
Thank you, John. I imagine John will try and get a word with Keith Curle. May well hear from him before 10:30 on 5 Live Sport tonight. Palace continue to try and find a way back into this game.
Yeah, it is a change of shape for Burnley. Sean Dyche, his hand forced Long going in as a centre half.
Zaha getting frustrated, Long tackled him, and Zaha just charged into him.
And now it's McNeil in the centre of midfield with Westwood. So having to adapt again.
Van Aanholt with the throw. Chris Sutton with us here at Selhurst Park.
They look for quick switches now. Crystal Palace try and get overloads in those wide areas.
Here's Scott down, just short of the halfway line. Forward to Townsend. Little give and go down the right with Joel Ward. Ayew trying to win it with Charlie Taylor. Charlie Taylor shepherds the ball. It's Ben Mee, sorry, shepherds the ball out of play, but leaves it for Charlie Taylor to take the throw. And Ben Mee is our goal scorer this evening so far, which is why Burnley are in front. Charlie Taylor, he joined from Leeds 3 years ago, takes the throw down the left. Vidra's seen very little of the ball in the second half. Van Aanholt collects it for Palace. He's under pressure from Josh Brownhill. Misplaced pass from Van Aanholt. Burnley sense a chance here, maybe to try and kill the game. Brownhill to McNeil. Threads it through to Peters. Peters' cross is blocked by Townsend, who then swipes the clearance away with his right foot, and the ball goes out for a Burnley throw on the left inside the Palace half. And we've got just over 15 minutes to play. So remaining fixtures for Burnley: Sheffield United go to them on Sunday, 12 o'clock commentary on 5 Live. They then go to West Ham. They've got to go to Liverpool, who've obviously already won the title. They've got Wolves coming to them. They go to Norwich. And they finish at home to Brighton. Thought you might say that. Taylor.
It's amazing to think this patched up Burnley team have come here with this composure this evening, the way they've passed the ball. You know, whether we like it or not, we do associate Burnley, or have done over the years, or I certainly have, with being pretty basic in the way they play, and that's not a criticism.
Zaha is able to get past Kevin Long. Danger for Burnley here. Zaha into the penalty area. Past Tarkowski, goes stumbling over. Not appealing for a penalty, gets a corner. And Tarkowski can't even believe that decision's gone against him.
No, but I tell you what, if you're Sean Dyche there, you're looking at that position, alarm bells ringing. Zaha going into the box. I think the last touch did come off Zaha. Tarkowski did very, very well, staying on his feet.
Van Aanholt holds both arms in the air. Way swinger with the left boot into the near post. Ayew drives it, blocked. Ball spins to McNeil, but Nick Pope gives him a shout, comes hurrying up behind him, falls on it and grabs it with both hands.
That's the ideal position, Ali, isn't it, really, if you're Roy Hodgson? Wilf Zaha driving at one of the centre halves.
Has your pen got a light on the end of it?
Yeah, it's a new one today. Yes. It's not dark yet, but
that's very
it lights
smart.
up.
Yeah,
it's got both really.
So no ruler, but you do have a pen that lights up.
Yeah,
I might have to look at investing in one of those.
But that is useful in commentary, isn't it?
In the winter, yes. Yeah. Cahill plays it back to Guaita. Guaita at fault, we think, for the goal this evening. Should have done better with the Mee header. Good header, got a good hand to it. Couldn't keep it out, went in off the post. Are you seriously not going to play the Golden Glove quiz game? Are you seriously not playing that anymore? You having a strop on that one?
No, I'll have a...
Go on then, keep going. So you said Schmeichel. The thing is, it's since 2004, so were you thinking...
sorry, yeah, that's...
See, so Peter Schmeichel wouldn't have been...
but anyway. he would have been had it been a proper Premier League.
Had it been a proper quiz.
So...
Come on then. Keep thinking while they keep playing, and when we get a break, I'll come to you for more. You've got Petr Cech so far. Last 15 minutes of the game, Burnley leading 1-0. Andros Townsend with a step over, edge of the Burnley box, uses a bit of pace to go on the outside, tries to get the cross in. Such good defending again by Burnley. Charlie Taylor sticking at it. Townsend bundles his way through a couple of challenges. Shoots with the left foot just over the bar. Hit it well. Pope had it covered.
Yeah, we've seen Andros Townsend in the past when he gets his head up 25 yards out. Either foot, he's such a danger. Has a little look. It's a fortunate ricochet to get away from Taylor, who's still putting him under pressure. He's not far over the bar from Townsend. He needs something special. I think that's his last kick of the evening now, as he's off, and Max Meyer.
Yeah. Meyer came on early on in the defeat against Liverpool when Wilfried Zaha came off. So he on for Townsend. He's issuing some instructions here to James MacArthur. MacArthur across to Zaha. Zaha's holding to the right.
Across, yeah.
Okay. So no one's on the right at the moment. Nick Pope spotted that and plays the ball out to Burnley's left. Charlie Taylor, you can hear Ray Lewington going at it all the time. Here we go. Can we get it? Well, let's see. Can they get it, Crystal Palace? The ball bounces down on the edge of the box. Cahill comes across to cover it. Vidra at his back. Plays back to Guaita, very nearly blocked by Westwood. Clearance drops down on the halfway line. Me underneath it, taking no chances. Swings a left foot at it and clears it down into the Palace area.
There's a good ball in behind the Palace back line. And that's something Palace haven't done enough. They didn't do it enough in the first half. Stretch that Burnley backline out.
That's good from Zaha, coming away from the right-hand touchline, darted between two defenders. Ayew holds off Charlie Taylor. Has he got the pace to beat Me? Sliding challenge from Me, concedes the corner.
He hasn't put a foot wrong, has he? Me all evening. Well, Ayew had the legs on Me there, but goes to ground, wins the ball. And you think Burnley actually from corners now, they've got Long on, they've got some big guys in there.
Set piece opportunity for Crystal Palace down at this Homesdale Road end. Patrick Van Arnholt just below us. Palace 0, Burnley 1. Zaha asking for it short, gets it short, traps the ball, turns, floats the cross in, and the header is just over the bar. Was that Dan or Ayew? They jumped together.
Milivojevic, I think.
Right.
Roy Hodgson with a wry smile. That was a golden opportunity. Short corner into Zaha, who turns, and Milivojevic all of 6-7 yards out, centre of the goal. Was it too high for him? No. Well, in fact, it is.
They jumped together.
Ayew, yeah. You think he's got to score that?
They jumped together. I don't know whether
whoever it was.
Yeah, I don't know whether Milivojevic put Ayew off, and it didn't, and it.
But that was a golden opportunity, middle of the goal. Get on top of that. It's in. Wasteful from Palace, and the question is, will they get another chance as good as that one?
10 minutes left. Palace 0, Burnley 1. As it stands, Burnley going level on points with Tottenham. They'll be behind them on goal difference. They'll be up to 8th with 6 games of the Premier League season to play, and as we keep saying, 8th could mean European football. Not necessarily, but possibly. Remember their best Premier League finish under Sean Dyche, 7th a couple of seasons ago, took him into the Europa League. Max Meyer, ball rolls under his foot, runs to MacArthur inside the box, support from Van Arnholt on the outside. Brownhill in front of him. Again, Meyer with his back to goal inside the Burnley box, plays it back to MacArthur. Cross comes in with the left foot. Ayew chests it down, he's right in front of goal, and it runs away from him and to Nick Pope, and that was another great chance.
It was actually good initial movement from Ayew in the box as this popped out to the left-hand side. MacArthur puts the ball in, and he's trying to take it on his chest to get a shot off, but Roy Hodgson hopping around, hopping mad in his technical area. You're quite right, you think from that range, see 8-9 yards out, try and head that back across Pope into the far corner. Taylor had read the situation anyway, but Palace starting to get opportunities.
Trailing 1-0. Burnley, if they do win this 1-0 tonight, that would be a great recovery from the shellacking they took at the hands of Manchester City, because they beat Watford 1-0 Thursday night. If they come here and win this 1-0, fantastic couple of games for Sean Dyche. Here's Van Arnholt. Burnley are going to have some defending to do. Milivojevic for Palace, right in the middle of the Burnley half, sweeps his pass out low and wide to Joel Ward, towards MacArthur, back to Dan. Here's MacArthur again for Palace on the right, outside of his right foot to Zaha. Zaha holds off Taylor, knocks the ball into the shins of Taylor. It comes back to Ward. Ward's got Zaha behind him on the right, beats McNeil. Little ball into the feet of MacArthur. Zaha wants it back in the box, drives it hard over Pope, took a deflection. That'll be a corner.
Yeah, Burnley getting deeper and deeper. Zaha really good again. Superb awareness to poke the ball into MacArthur, who plays a little deft ball outside of the right foot back to Zaha. The angle is against him, and it's a good block. Palace building pressure.
Another corner for them. Will be swung in from the right. Zaha offers the short option again. Van Arnholt doesn't use it. Goes a little bit deeper here. Cahill jumps for it. Controlled by McCarthy. McCarthy across the face of the box to the German Meyer. Wide to Ayew. on the left-hand side. Into the penalty area, lays it back to Meyer, tries to get it back to McCarthy. Burnley have enough people there. Clear the ball. Joe Ward goes chasing as hard as he can. Back downfield.
Yeah. Every outfield player in the Burnley box there. That passage of play was materialising.
Burnley leading 1-0. One win in 13 visits to Selhurst Park. Roy Hodgson has never lost a game against them as a Premier League manager. 6 attempts. Zaha's crossing the penalty area is blocked. Charlie Taylor clears out for a Palace throw. Roy Hodgson wants urgency. Milivojevic gives it with a quick throw in to McCarthy. Under no pressure. Back to Milivojevic on the right here. Burnley with everyone behind the ball. Wide to Joel Ward. Ward closed down by Peters. Wins another throw for Crystal Palace. He takes a replacement ball off that white plastic cone. Throws it into MacArthur, chests it down, back to Milivojevic. Here's Scott Dan. Dan through the middle to Meyer. Meyer quickly on to Ayew, lays it back to Meyer, who continues a run from right to left. Now Van Arnholt starts to make a run in behind. Meyer doesn't go there. Comes back to the right, gives it to Scott Dan. Scott Dan sliding one down the channel. No one made a run for it. It was between Zaha and Ward. It's gone straight behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, they just nipped Roy Hodgson furious with that. Dan trying to force it. Desperate down there. He should have just kept the ball, but Ward had made a move inside. They need to keep the width. Do Palace. The full-backs now when they're in possession, playing really high like wingers. Palace chucking everything at it, but you have to say Burnley defended really well, resolutely.
7 minutes plus added time. Palace 0, Burnley 1. Ben Mee's goal just after the hour mark in this game from the set piece. Westwood's free kick, diving header from Mee from a good 14 yards out. Guaita got a hand to it, could only deflect it onto the post and in. Peters caught and fouled in the middle of the Palace half, and Burnley will be very happy with that because they can run down another 30 seconds or so.
Just take the sting out of the game if you're Burnley. Made a couple of passes in the middle of the park. Peters sees MacArthur coming, gets his body in, draws the foul, and now, as you rightly said, Bruce, just running down the clock.
Long way out. It's not going to be a shot. Westwood floats it into Tarkowski, nods it down. Brownhill underneath it, spoons his shot over the crossbar and behind for a goal kick. We were talking about long-range efforts in the first half, Chris, and where you'd scored some of your goals from, and here at this very ground. Is that right?
Yeah, it would have been just outside or maybe on the line of the box. Brilliant half volley for Blackburn Rovers in '97. I actually scored in early 90s for Norwich City.
Here.
Young, gangly,
raw,
hungry, raw,
mouthy,
knock-kneed centre forward up against Eric Young and Andy Thorne.
Oh.
And the pitch certainly wasn't like it is this evening.
Yeah.
I mean, they were proper pitches, weren't they? That's when
that's
when footballers were footballers.
Did you dare give them any lip?
They were some team, Palace, weren't they?
Back
then.
Throwing from Taylor down the line. Having another very good season this season as well, Crystal Palace, but Burnley getting the better of them so far this evening because we're into the last 5 minutes of the game and they're leading 1-0.
And how Palace could do with an Ian Wright and Mark Bright.
Yeah. That team, well, you go back just before the Premier League, Chris, 1991, finished third in the old First Division. Steve Coppell took them to third, which is their highest ever finish. Here's Joel Ward.
Just wonder, would Gareth Southgate, he would have been at the club, would he have played?
Ooh, I'd have to look that up.
That's a tough, yeah, he would have been in and around, I would have thought.
Pope clears with his right foot for Burnley.
I thought you would have known that, Bruce.
Yeah, got me there, Chris. Though you're still not giving me any more answers for the Golden Glove quiz.
Allison?
Yes, well done. Good. 6 more to get. You've got Cech and Allison. All you got to do is just think of great goal. Okay, all right. Throw in down the right for Burnley. Leading 1-0. Oh, that's a great turn from Dwight McNeil. Gets the ball back to the edge of the box. Palace desperately trying to win this back. They've done that now. Inside their own half. MacArthur is being dragged back by Brownhill. Plays it back to Cahill. Cahill across to Scott Dan. He's not got many options on here, but he does find Zaha. Zaha's deep inside his own half. Run with it is the instruction. He decides to play a low ball out to Joel Ward. Back to Zaha. Zaha with a little dummy. Brownhill read it, makes the tackle.
He's been very good, hasn't he? He's really worked hard. Brownhill has for Burnley. Well, as have all the Burnley players.
Zaha takes a quick throw. Time is running out for Crystal Palace. Burnley closing in on a really important win. Palace next up away to Leicester. And more news to come here on 5 Live, as Kelly Cates told us midway through this second half about the lockdown that Matt Hancock has announced in and around Leicester, as Milivojevic floats the ball into the Burnley penalty area, headed away by Max Meyer, edge of the box to Jordan Ayew. Ayew on the dribble inside the area, gets the shot all wrong. He's claiming a corner. Don't think he's going to get it. No, goal kick for Burnley.
He actually worked the situation very, very well. So many bodies back, and as Meyer pops the ball out his left-hand side of the box, drives in on his right foot, cuts inside Bardsley. He's trying to bend the ball into the far corner, and he gets it horribly wrong. Correct decision from the referee. It was well wide. It was a left-hand post from Ayew.
89th minute of the game. Brighton, Manchester United. Commentary game tomorrow night at 8:15. Brighton have done well since the restart. Manchester United in good form through to the FA Cup semi-finals. Another win for Brighton. You think they'd probably be okay. They're on 33 points. Enjoyed that really good win over Arsenal. So that's your commentary game tomorrow night. Throw in for Palace here inside their own half. And we're heading towards the 90th minute of the game. Ian Wone held up 4 fingers there. I think 4 minutes of added time on the way. Ward is blocked by Peters. Free kick for Palace, but Burnley are keeping them at arm's length.
I don't think they're very happy, Ian Wone and Sean Dyche, about
too much added time
here. Yeah.
Really? Not made too many substitutions actually, either team. That's a point. Kevin Long's come on, hasn't he, for Burnley?
They're niggled about something.
McCarthy with the free kick to the edge of the area. Kevin Long jumped underneath it. McCarthy gets behind him. He's inside the Burnley box on the left. Cross into the far post. Dan challenging for it. 2 Burnley defenders there.
Well, guess who?
Behind for a corner. Ben Mee?
Me again.
Me, isn't it?
Yeah.
With you.
Absolutely is, but I tell you what, he does superbly well, because Dan has the run on him. It's a brilliant defensive header.
Tarkowski. Sorry, Chris, has got cramp, I think.
They're just trying to run the clock down, but they have been colossal tonight. Tarkowski and me.
Corner for Crystal Palace. We are into added time at the end of this game. Burnley leading 1-0. Great header away. Was that Long that time? With the header. Palace collect the ball on the left. So Ayew is out wide left at the moment. Plenty of shirts to aim at in the box. Ayew's still on the dribble here, being chased across the pitch there. Then the cross comes in from the left. Pope comes. Oh, he mispunches. Van Arnholt drives it. Pope saves. Rebound chance. Scott Dan swings it in the air, and the ball goes spinning high over the bar and behind for a corner. So that was a moment of worry for Burnley.
Well, it was Long with the block. Thought Pope should have done better. Then the ball bounced and Long threw his body on the line. Last chance here for Palace.
Bit of panic from Pope there for a second. Van Arnholt with the corner low. Oh, strange deflection. Ball drops down in the box. Brownhill gets a second chance to clear it away. He does that for a throw. McCarthy.
As anywhere will do at the moment for Burnley. Just defend the box.
McCarthy's thrown it all the way back to his goalkeeper, Guaita. I didn't see the board actually go up, but if it is 4 minutes of added time, there are 3 minutes remaining at the end of this game, because we've played a minute of the added time already. MacArthur desperately trying to make something happen for Crystal Palace. Meyer gets another cross in. Flick header from Cahill straight at Pope, and he grabs it.
Yeah, it was good from Meyer. Left-hand side, chopped back in on his right foot. Whipped the ball in, and Cahill got across his marker. 12 yards out. Glances the header, but straight at Nick Pope, who gathers it and now just takes his time, dawdles out, drops the ball and punts it upfield.
12 goals, you said it, Chris, right at the start of the night, in 15 home games. It looks like it might be 12 goals in 16 home games for Crystal Palace.
But now we're seeing real urgency from Palace. Boy, feel for managers, as Roy Hodgson will be saying after the game, why didn't we put a foot on the gas much earlier?
Being forced back at the moment, Palace, 2 minutes to play. Oh, Roy's so frustrated down there. He turns on his heel, throws his head to the heavens. 2 minutes to play, and Burnley are just keeping Palace penned in their own half.
Cahill up top now.
Yeah, through the middle. Milivojevic plays it to the left. Got to get Zaha on the ball. Oh dear, Van Aanholt slices it out of play. Throw in for Burnley, who've defended superbly. They're leading 1-0. And they're heading 8th in the Premier League table, and there's a cameraman again getting quite close to Roy Hodgson on the sideline here. Just go a little careful there.
If it's the same guy as earlier.
Tell you what.
And he's courageous.
Well, Roy's had a little look there as well. Phew, blimey, if looks could kill. Minute to play. Burnley taking a long time over this restart. Throwing on the right, inside their own half. Looks like Ben Mee's goal is going to win it. The throw-in hits Milivojevic on the back. It's out for another Burnley throw.
Tell you what, though, would you strip everything back and think about what Sean Dyche has done with this Burnley team, the team which he's put out tonight, we mentioned before the game, missing 3 strikers who have scored 2/3 of the goals this season, doesn't moan, gets on with it. The players have given him absolutely everything, but this is a crucial victory, and Burnley now really in the mix for European football.
20 seconds to play. Crystal Palace trying to get it out of their half. Burnley have done such a good job in closing this game down. Max Meyer plays it down the line. Tarkowski's there and just smashes the ball as far as he can downfield. Guaita's underneath it. My stopwatch tells me we've played 4 minutes of added time. I'm keeping an eye on the referee. Bringing the ball forward at pace of Palace. Van Aanholt, this is the last chance. No, that's it. All over. And Burnley get the win. Ben Mee's goal in the 62nd minute means Burnley move level on points with Tottenham, up to 8th in the Premier League table, still chasing European football next season, and a first win in a long time at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. It is not easy to do, and with the injuries they've had and the players they've been missing, Chris Sutton, that is a great job by Burnley tonight.
Absolutely brilliant. And Sean Dyche power walking down the touchline back to the dressing room. He will be absolutely made up with the manner of Burnley's victory. They defended so strongly, limited Palace to very, very few chances. And I thought McNeil was a star tonight. They played some decent stuff. They probably didn't create as many chances as he would have liked, but when you think that they had the main 3 strikers out, we can understand that. But a huge 3 points, and now to think Burnley could get European football. Who would have thought that before the start of the season? A wonderful win for Sean Dyche.
2 teams making their way off the field at Selhurst Park, on air until 10:30. Before I hand it back to Kelly, Chris, any more guesses at the Golden Glove winners? You've got Cech and Alisson.
Edison.
We can keep it going. Edison's incorrect, so I'll let you keep thinking. I'll hand it back to Kelly. Full time at Selhurst Park. Palace 0, Burnley 1.
Can I have De Gea?
You can have De Gea.
I was going to say him, Kelly.
I thought I'd take the obvious one before you got to it.
Very good.
So Burnley then up into 8th place with 45 points, level with Tottenham in 7th, also on 45 points. Sheffield United in 9th with 44, Arsenal in 10th with 43, and Crystal Palace in 11th place with 42 points, played 32. It's looking promising for Burnley in terms of potentially finishing inside a European place, depending on how far down the table they go. But as Ali was asking you, Chris, this is against a Burnley side that is missing plenty of key players. And on social media, Sarah said, I feel so sorry for Roy. The team just don't seem bothered. They did lack some energy, didn't they?
Yeah, I do get fed up when people say that the players aren't bothered. I think that, every player who walks across the white line onto a football field is bothered. I just thought that they lacked a bit of confidence, but we have to give credit to Burnley for the way they defended. Palace moved the ball too slowly in the first half. Burnley, were well set up, got back in the shape and made it very, very difficult. Palace only played with the real required tempo in the last 15 minutes, where they put Burnley under major pressure, but Burnley held out. But Palace's issue all season, and probably since Roy has arrived here, and Roy's done a fantastic job when you think that what he actually had to take over that first season, all all the hoo-ha with Frank de Boer. They'd lost so many games. He came in, settled the side down. They got 11th, I think, that they finished. But it's always been that they have lacked a number 9 and goal scorers with this Palace side. But, you know, looking aside from that, it's still been a decent season from Palace's point of view. But, you know, they will worry about the lack of goals. What is it? You said 12, Ali, isn't it?
12
at home this season.
16
I mean,
home games.
That is pretty awful. I think only Norwich have scored less this season than Crystal Palace
overall,
as well,
that's right,
which is, you know, that tells its own story. I mean, how, you know, Palace are doing well to be where they are in the league.
In terms of the strikers, Kelly, I mean, the name that always leaps, and the one they spent big money on, and I know I'm going back a little bit, but obviously is Christian Benteke, who's not fit at the moment. He did really well in that first season, signed by Alan Pardew for £27 million, but has scarcely been able to buy a goal since then. I'm not sure the way he plays actually entirely suits the way Crystal Palace now play, but that is the problem. I think Jordan Ayew's done really well for them this season to get the 9 goals. But then
I think Kelly said, you know, Wilf Zaha 3 goals. You think a player
Townsend
of his quality, Townsend, So just not enough.
Yeah. What about Wilf Zaha? Because as you know from doing 606, it's always the poor performances and the losing team that draws the most comment on social media. So Cameron asks, where has Zaha been tonight? Haven't heard a peep out of him. These are the games he should be dominating, but he's been a myth, says Cameron.
Unfair, I think what happens is every opposing manager knows what Wilf Zaha can do, and you know, certainly early on in the game, well, all game actually, Burnley were doubling up, trebling up at times, and actually I thought, you know, some of his play was quite intelligent, realising that was the situation early and popping passes off. He came over to the right-hand side late on in the game and actually had a bigger impact there. But the problem that Palace have is they don't have enough strength in depth. You know, they're always looking to Zaha. They're, you know, you could say a bit of a one-trick pony in the, you know, if you know you can nullify Zaha, you nullify Palace, and that's what teams are doing. He's a you know, a brilliant player, but all Premier League sides have cottoned on to him.
Chris Sutton and Ali Bruce Ball are with us until 10:30, as is Michael Kitely. Michael, that's a big win for Burnley, isn't it, to put them into 8th place?
Yeah, it is. It's a great win. Obviously, we spoke about how weak their squad looks, but you know, they looked pretty comfortable tonight. They defended really well, as Chris said there. They kept Zaha quiet, and you know, they've got a goal. You know, the keeper's got to do a lot better for the goal, but it's a great 1-0 victory again. And you know, people talk about how well Sheffield United have done this season, and Burnley have gone in front of them now. So, you know, as we spoke before, you know, what an unbelievable job Sean Dyche is doing, and that win tonight just shows you, you know, what they're about, grinding it out and getting another 1-0 away win.
Yep, it wasn't spectacular, but it was solid from Burnley, and they do take all 3 points. Meanwhile, at Wembley, the League Two playoff final, and John Southall was watching.
Yes, Kelly, the first lockdown Wembley final won comfortably by Northampton. Actually, their players are still out on the pitch at the moment with the trophy and with their phones on, some of them on FaceTime with their family and with their friends.